Well, now we have Billy Young, and I'm going to award the award for your dad. There is no congressman in the United States who has done more for our country than Bill Young. And we love him, we appreciate him, and we're sorry he's not here to get his award, but Billy will get it to him. And I'm going to read what we've inscribed. This is a special award from Central Pinellas Republican Club to Congressman Bill Young. It's called a Lifetime Achievement Award, presented to the Honorable Congressman C.W. Bill Young, in grateful appreciation for your unselfish service and dedication to the citizens of Pinellas County, Florida, serving 10 years in the Florida Senate, and to the citizens of the United States, serving 42 years in the Congress of the United States. We love and appreciate you, Bill Young. And this is presented by the members of Central Pinellas Republican Club on August the 8th, 2013. This is for you, Dan. All right, I asked Bill if he's ready to speak. All right, Billy Young also spends a great deal of time in the Congress, along with his dad. About every fair that I've gone to where Bill Young is there, Billy is with him. And so we're very pleased that you took the time to come here to speak to our club. And it's with the greatest pride and appreciation that I present Billy Young Jr., Bill Young's son.
As Barb mentioned, my dad got a little bronchitis and didn't want to be around a group of people. So he asked me to come by today, and I didn't know, Barb, you pull a heck of a crowd here. This is impressive. All the elected officials, you know, you've got the power table back there of Jay Baruti, Casey Cox, and Nick DeSigley. You know, Ken Burke's here, Larry Ahern, Ed Hooper, who's going to make a very good county commissioner for us. And you know, if my dad was here, he would send the message that groups like these around the county are what's important to 2014. We've got an opportunity in 2014 to set the track back. We didn't do great in 2012. 2014 is our time for all of us to come together from all angles of the party. We have to come together and make sure that we defeat the opposition party. If we don't, they're going to continue to infringe on us by forcing things like Obamacare on us. They're going to continue to try to go after our guns. They're going to continue to ignore our Constitution. And we can't have that. We've got to come together as a party and get a lot of good conservatives elected to office to make sure that we keep Tallahassee and Washington voting the right way. My dad's looking forward to heading up the ticket here in 2014. We'll have a lot of good conservatives down the line from him. Like we said, Larry, Ed Hooper over there. And there's going to be a wave of young conservatives coming in to show that it's cool to be a conservative and you can be young. My good friends Chris Latvala and Chris Sprouse are doing that. They're showing people that there can be youth in the Republican Party and we can be conservative and we can stand our ground and make sure that Tallahassee and Washington don't infringe on our rights as Floridians and Americans. So everybody, let's get ready for 2014. Let's have a heck of an election cycle. And make sure you vote for my dad. I'd appreciate that. Thank you all very much, and thanks for having me here.
We have two representatives here, and maybe they'd like to say something to our group. Larry, would you like to? And Ed, get both of them to say something to our group.
Well, thank you, Barbara. You know, as we prepare, we're already preparing for the upcoming session in a few ways. As we look at some of the things that we'll be tackling, I think you've all read recently about the Stand Your Ground law and its review by one of our committee chairs, Representative Matt Gates. So we'll be looking at that. We'll be also looking at, you know, what the revenues are that hopefully will be in a good place again. to be able to just balance our budget without cutting any services. But I think at the same time, as we look forward, it's important for us to recognize that we're not out of the woods yet with the state of Florida. That we've still got some recovery to do in our housing market, in our property market, and those are the things that citizens insurance is another big one. So again, as we prepare for our upcoming session, let us know. I mean, we're listening this summer to what concerns you have that we would need to address. And so contact our offices. Let us know what you think should be part of our priorities. We're happy to be able to help. That's what I think is lost sometimes in the translation is that we rely on the things that you see and that you know that you'd like us to focus on more. So I would ask you to contact me or Representative Hooper if you have any state issues that you'd like us to take a closer look at. With that, I defer to the chairman.
Thank you, Representative Ahern. I'll just tag on a little bit that Representative Ahern talked about. We're going back to Tallahassee next month. So in case you think this little part-time job, unlike you may hear, we'll be there September, October, November, December, January, February, March, and the first 8 days of April and first 8 days of May. So we're going to be burning the road up and back to Tallahassee. It's important that we re-elect our Governor, Rick Scott. It is so important for this state as we recover from this economy that we've been through. He's creating jobs. He's cutting regulations. We're cutting taxes. We're working with the governor. The legislature is doing a great job of trying to get Florida back where it needs to be, to keep government off your back. And we need to keep him there so that that office does not go Democratic and it causes chaos that none of us need or want. In this county, in the Florida House, you heard Bill Young talk about Chris Lotvala, Chris Sprouse, two bright young guys that are running for one for my seat and one to take back a seat that a Democrat won in North County. And I've heard rumors there's a pretty bright candidate that's considering a South County seat to take that back. And whoever that person is, I'll be supporting him, sir, in any way that I can. We need your feedback, we need your input, we need your help. We need to know what's important to you. In the hustle and bustle of Tallahassee, sometimes it's hard to remember everything that is going on. Don't be afraid to call us, email us, text us. That's why we're there. We're there to represent you, our constituents, and at the same time make this state as great as it needs to be. Thank you for allowing us to have a few moments, and thank you for being here. Turn me off.
Okay, it's on the agenda. And thank you, Larry, for talking to us about this. I was wondering, do any of you have questions for Billy Young concerning what is going on in the Congress? There are many things that we are concerned about. Any questions?
I don't know if this is really fair or not. Anyone have questions that I can attempt to answer? Yes, sir.
Will Congressman Bill Young vote to not fund the Obamacare? He stands with conservative Republicans on it.
He hates Obamacare.
Will he vote to not fund it?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's what I want to hear.
He and his conservative colleagues in the House have voted numerous times to get rid of Obamacare. Unfortunately, our Democratic-held Senate refuses to do the same. But we do have some Democratic senators who are from some reddish-bluish states who may be reconsidering because some of their constituents are realizing the effect that it's having on everybody. So hopefully we can get back the Senate in 2014, and then we can just go ahead and get rid of this terrible infringement of our rights. Yes, ma'am?
I gave you that letter because I wanted to ask the congressman that there's a cycle that's been going on for decades now. Bush, Clinton, Obama, Soros. Bush, Clinton. And then we're hearing in 2016, Bush, Clinton. Why can't we get someone who is not in that cycle? And your dad I have noticed he is unbelievably uncorrupt. I watch McCain, Graham, all these other people, Boehner. They seem to be touched constantly and don't stay right to the Constitution like your dad. And if you ask and talk to people, their face kind of goes blank when I talk to them. I'm pretty candid and frank when I talk to people about our country. And that's why I wanted to see your dad today. And that's why I sent that letter to him. What is happening? Who is running our country? And I know you can't answer that. But look, we don't want any borders. Schumer says he doesn't want any, what's his name? Yeah, Schumer says we're going to eventually have no borders. What is happening in our world? Do you have any idea?
Well, I can tell you this, and you know, one thing about my dad that's made him different from so many people in Washington is where he came from. He was born in a coal mining town during the Depression with a single parent. He had to work from the age of 12. He's worked every day since he was 12 years old. He didn't have a privileged life. He doesn't have any fancy education. And he knows that hard work and people are what make the difference. He moved to Pinellas Park when he was 16. My grandmother lived in the house until the day she died. He and my uncle built it. And if you've been to his office in Washington, I'm sure many of you have, he keeps a picture of the shack that he grew up in on the Allegheny River above his desk. And he keeps it there to keep him humbled and remember where he comes from. I mean, we're in the Palace of the Orient. I've eaten here since I think I was born. You know, my dad is from Pinellas County, and in Pinellas we have values, most of us anyway, and he's going to stick to that. And as far as the people in Washington that aren't worried about borders, I can tell you this 110%. Bill Young believes in our Constitution, he believes in our guns, and he believes in protecting America, and he always will.
They're coming around now with a continuing.
They're coming around now with another continuing resolution. Why instead don't the Republicans in the House change the subject, pick up the last budget from the desk that they sent to Harry Reid, and give it back to him again?
Well, they keep giving things back to Harry Reid, and he just doesn't care about what mainstream America thinks.
Well,
I mean, I can't really speak to that 100%. You know, that's something that, you know, when you see my dad or send him a letter, he can address. But from my standpoint, I just don't think that Harry Reid cares about the middle class. And he doesn't care about working America. And he doesn't care about all of us that, you know, have day jobs and have to worry about our rights and our families and our education. So, Harry Reid is a terrible subject. There's not much more to Harry Reid than that.
He's an obstructionist.
Any other questions?
That's what they're doing with this, they do something, and they claim other people are doing it.
Yes.
That's exactly it.
I'm just curious, is it just recently that, or have I been sleeping? What makes the big guys up there think that they can give us Obamacare and Obama will sign where they won't have to get the same health care? What makes them think that they can get away with this? I mean, has everyone gone crazy? Seriously.
Listen, my hope is, and I know that most of y'all's hopes is, and my dad's as well, is that in 2014 we'll take the Senate and we'll get rid of it and it won't be an issue. As far as some people being part of it and others not being part of it, I don't know. I'd love to have a voice in this fight, but I don't. But I just said, let's get rid of the thing. It's terrible. Some of you probably seen the picture. My dad, the Republicans printed out the Obamacare regulations. And the regulations stood 6 feet 4 inches tall. So 2 inches taller than me. Our Constitution is this thick. The Constitution has worked for a very long time. And it's just a few pages. Why do we need 6 feet of regulations on our health care?
That will pass after you don't.
They will pass after Nancy tells us we'll read it later. Hey, and again, Nancy is on that boat with Harry Reid. Sir, you had a question back here?
Of course, you know, I can talk about enemies within the nation as well as outside the nation, or I could ask about the way we support the rest of the world. But I really have two questions I've never been able to answer or get an answer to. The first one, you remember when Khrushchev beat on the table with his shoe and said, we'll destroy you from within. Is that the year Obama was born?
I don't know that.
All right, and the second question, has the emperor opened the White House so I can take my grandson to see it?
No, and that's a shame.
Thank you.
You know, people come to Washington all the time. Barb was talking about when she was up there, and she asked if I remembered when her and her daughter were there. And I do, because when I was there, in Washington, you see so many people from around the country and different interest groups coming through that it's a breath of fresh air when you see constituents coming in and taking an interest in our history and our government. The White House, and I can tell you, before 9/11, if you've gone, it was a great tour. After 9/11, there were some restrictions on where you could go. They did for security reasons. But, you know, President Bush kept it open for the Americans to come in and see the house that we all pay for. We choose who lives there. Unfortunately, he's decided that other things are more important. Vacationing in Martha's Vineyard is more important than paying for tours for the public. So hopefully, we'll get that fixed. The White House is a great place to go. But again, our president has other priorities than the heartland of America.
Any other questions for Billy Young?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, the House of Representatives, aren't they in charge of funding these type of things? Why aren't the Republicans insisting or just not giving him money for vacations and opening up the White House for our children? I mean, why aren't they just raising the devil? Every Republican should be demanding that we open up that White House. It's not his house, it's our house.
Well, I mean, and I agree with you 100%. That's not his house. He's a temporary renter.
Right.
And unfortunately, he got to rent for 8 years instead of 4.
Right.
But the Republicans are upset about this. Even Speaker Boehner has, you know, gotten the party to speak up about this. The House is supposed to fund. The House holds the purse. That's in the Constitution. And so is discretionary spending by the House of Representatives, which the President ignores too. So ignoring something in the Constitution is not a new thing for this President. No. So if he read that Constitution and obeyed it and respected it like we all do, then we could do that. But he doesn't care.
No, I know he doesn't. He bypasses, he even made that statement a month ago, that anything that he wants, he'll just bypass Congress.
And he does.
He doesn't get his way.
He does.
Well, what can we do about that?
Impeachment.
Pray.
Pray? I do that.
I mean, what we have to do is we have to, as I said, and I'm not joking, we pray for it, and we respect that Constitution, and we elect people in 2014 who care about the Constitution. If we ignore the Constitution, we're in big trouble. So we need as many people as we can get to appreciate that. And, you know, some of the guys, I know Larry's not going to go to Tallahassee and ignore it. You know, Ed Hooper's not going to ignore it. I know Dan Tucker certainly doesn't ignore it. We have a good foundation here in Pinellas, and we just have to keep electing people in 2014 who care about God and care about the Constitution. Oh, I think he went over there. We'll get you next.
After you.
I want to defer the rest of the questions to Bobby. I mean, her hat is more... And her and my mom go farther back, I think, than her and my dad.
Kimber was my student. You should really tell her. I think it's the funniest story, but it turned out great. Bill Young's daughter, Kimber, was the 9th grader when I went to Madeira Beach Junior High in 1967, and I had her as a student. We had the presidential fitness test, and she held the title of the longest, I think it was 86 seconds, for the flexed arm hang. Anybody remember doing that? Well, anyway, her name was on the wall for years. And then Bill and his wife divorced. And later on, Bill and his wife, new wife, attended a meeting of the Bel Air Women's Republican Club at the wine cellar. And afterward, I went to meet her. It was Beverly. And I just told her, I didn't recognize Beverly at all. And I just told her that Kimber, Bill's daughter, had been my student. And she kept looking at this Bernstein. And she knew that she had been in school with Kimber. I didn't know that. And she didn't have any Bernstein students. And she said, teachers. She said, where did you teach? And I said, Madeira Beach Junior High. And what did you teach? I said, physical education. I said, but my name wasn't that. It was a different last name at that time. And she said, I was in your class. You got me suspended. I said, did you deserve it? She said, yes. So it was wonderful to really know her, and we get along great now. And I'm very, very fond of Bill from way back when. And what was your aunt's name? She went to Pinellas Park Junior High.
That's Sue.
Well, Sue was my student at Pinellas Park earlier before we had to go off for the Cuban crisis, and we came back.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Billy, I know that this is a tough question that is a long answer, but we have 3 branches of the federal government, but we really have a 4th called the bureaucracy and the regulations that are going on. Rick Scott has deregulated a lot here in the state of Florida, great example. How and what plan is there can we deregulate so many of these regulations and have these 6'4", regulations for different bills that are out there outlandishly? Is there any plan for deregulation and limiting the bureaucracy that's going on?
Now, are you talking Florida or Washington?
Washington.
Washington. Now, Speaker Boehner said it the other day, and that was that we need to be more worried about getting rid of bills that are bad than putting in new bills. And that's exactly what we have to do. But we're handcuffed. We have a president who doesn't follow the process. We have a Harry Reid-led Senate who's not going to budge on anything Obama tells him not to. So really all we can do is take back the Senate in 2014. I mean, we have Obama for until 2016, but if we get the Senate back, we'll be good to go. If we get a Republican-led House and Senate who can work together, we can get rid of regulations. And let's just pray we get rid of Obamacare.
We'll either be good to go or it'll get worse.
Let's hope we get better.
Okay, I keep playing these old tapes in my mind when Senator McCain was running, and there's this one lady who came up to him and was like, please, please win. She says, I'm so afraid of Obama. She says, I'm so afraid of Obama. And he said, don't be afraid of him. He's not a bad guy. He's really a nice family man. And he was saying that, and I was saying to myself, this guy's dangerous. Do they actually know that this man's dangerous? These senators that are there? I mean, because since Obama's been in office, he's been division between blacks, whites, between friends. My Democrat friends are no longer friends of mine. I've had arguments with my black girlfriend from New York, and it's like, all right, now we just don't talk about politics anymore. This man is dangerous. Do they realize how dangerous he is, or are they just fluffing it off like, no, this is something that we're just going to have to just get him out of office? This man's dangerous.
I think Washington has become so partisan that the Democrats just go along with whatever he says. Speaking for myself, I don't believe that our president and I share the same values, and certainly not my dad. God is very important to us. Our country is very important to us. I'm a proud NRA member, and I feel this president has launched a war on my gun rights. Healthcare. It's just ridiculous, the things he's doing and the things he's getting away with because he has the Senate. So I think it all goes back to we've got to get the Senate back. Whatever we can do. Now I know in Florida we're not really going to have a say in that, but around the country we got to pick up some seats. I think it's 5 or 6 more we need. If we can do that, we can deregulate things and we can put our values back in Washington.
How can you get the people to realize how dangerous it is?
I think people are starting to realize it. Well, his approval rating was down to, was it 42%? You know, everyone wanted to complain about that. I love that guy. I wish he was still around. I'm very happy you have a full-size cutout of W here. Any other questions I can attempt to answer? Yes, ma'am.
I get a lot of literature and also a lot of information on the internet about impeachment.
What are they doing about that? And is it possible to impeach our president?
It's not going to happen with this Senate. The House impeached Bill Clinton and the Senate didn't do anything. You know, that the House brings up the charges and the Senate actually enforces. And like I said, until we take back that Senate, there's no chance of that. So let's pick out some states where we can help some conservatives get in the Senate.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, Billy, I've got
Yes,
one.
sir.
Is there any way that we can get from your father or somebody in Washington where all the Senate seats that we are capable of winning throughout the country are?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know that my dad has that. I'm sure that the RNC has released it. I think there's 6 that we're looking at very strongly.
Well, they've got my number, they got my address and my email address for money. Maybe they could send that out too.
I'll tell you what, I will make sure we get a list and I'll get it to you and you can disperse it throughout our local parties.
Okay, good.
But that's the key to all of this, is take back the Senate. Take back the Senate, keep the House, and we'll get rid of stuff and we'll try to put this country back on track, because it needs back on track.
One more question. Does anyone else have a question?
On the second one, I'm sorry.
That's fine, that's
Well,
fine.
I'm sorry, but I'm so cynical. I think that voter fraud has been so rampant that I don't think we can win back through voting. I think our country's back to Iran and Iraq.
Well, I think we got to get our friends out. Our voter turnout hasn't been great, and there
I don't
may be.
think it's that. I think they're out there. I think that something is. I think that the machine. I don't know what it is, but there's something wrong.
Well, the only way we can fight that is get everybody we know, whether they're a Republican, a Democrat, or an independent, to get out there and vote for the conservative candidates. I mean, I can't speak on voter fraud. I don't know anything about it, but we've got to get people out. My dad's congressional district is practically 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 RD independents and no party affiliation. And he continues to win because he gets those independents. Larry gets those independents. We've got to make sure that every candidate is getting every one of those independents, because we need them to win. And if we have them, we'll take back these seats, we'll keep adding to other seats, and the numbers are there for us to do it. We just got to get people motivated. And I think that Barb and Casey and everyone's doing a great job of that.
You know, so it's available. I have a list in my precinct at home where I live, and I know exactly who all the independents, the smaller parties, and the Republicans that did not vote in the 2012 election. And that's available to us at any time.
The list is huge.
If you need those lists, get a hold of Barbara or get a hold of somebody at the PCREC, and we can get them for you, so that you will know in your neighborhoods who is not voting and why. You can go talk to them and find out why they didn't vote.
And I guarantee you that Larry Ahern, Ed Hooper, anyone running for office, Chris LaValle, Chris Sprouse, if you ask them, how can I help, they will give you a list of those independents that Casey mentioned.
Don't ask for 66, I got it already, district. You'll be getting it on the 24th. Okay?
All right, our last question.
Billy,
Yes, sir.
the overwhelming media bias, like this rag we have here, and so much of it, Washington Post, New York Times, is there some way that the conservatives, the Republican Party can start pushing back against this overwhelming bias? That's what really hurt Romney in this last election. It's killing us. Somehow we can push back against this overwhelming media bias to the left we have in this country.
I think the media bias, and I think that every person in here who's run as a conservative will tell you that the media is never going to be your friend. We're never going to win over the media. But where we can try to beat Democrats and Obama is he crushed us in the Twitter game. He crushed us in the online funding. We've got to connect with the technology age. We've got to get candidates out there who can run a campaign over Twitter and Facebook and all that other stuff, because we did a terrible job of that. I don't think the print media will ever be on our side, Larry. But we can take Twitter, because no one owns that. We can get every single person in here getting their friends and their kids and their grandkids. If we take the electronic election, we can take the big election.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, I didn't know I was going to get fired.
I told Billy I thought we had the opportunity, straight from Washington. Let's take it. Thank you.
I live in Pinellas Park.
Oh, I know.
I'm not from Washington.
But we've come down from Washington. Thank you. Thank you very much. And next month, our speaker, Staj Gunchik, is going to talk about how we can do with the electronic and Twitter and all the different things that we can do that Obama did so that we can win the next election. I've heard him speak on this at Casey's Club. It's very good. In other words, informing us what we as individuals can do to win the next election. Maureen, did you have?
I'd like to read this for Shelley. Shelley, who is the chair of the Hispanic Republican Club of Pinellas, is presenting The Real War on Women. It's a Republican outreach event, and it will focus on human trafficking. The speaker is Anna Rodriguez. She's the executive director and founder of the Florida Coalition Against Human Trafficking. The event will be held at 10 a.m. on September 28th. So it's a Saturday, have a little bit of time there. Tickets are $30, and you'll be probably hearing more about this, but just wanted to let you know about that date so you can mark it on your calendar. It's at the Bel Air Country Club, and it's just a great way to put some exposure on a definite problem in our country, and especially here in our county, about the trafficking situation. So hopefully all of you can attend, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Maureen.
Hi, could I just get some speculation? What does the political arena hold for you?
I have a 3-week-old baby, so I'm taking care of a 3-week-old baby.
Okay,
and
just a second here.
we're gonna pay attention to everything, and we'll see if there's a place that I think I can be of service to Florida. I'd be interested in looking into it.
The newspapers have been covering this between you and Jack LaValle's son, and there's been some speculation, and this is what we're going by. And right now, you're saying that right now, with your baby, that's your priority.
Absolutely, my family's the priority, but like I said, we're paying attention to everything. And Chris LaValle is a great candidate, and he's going to be a great representative for Florida and Pinellas County.
Okay. What about down the road when your father retires?
Well, he's not retiring for another decade, so we'll
Well,
talk.
we hope.
We'll talk about that in 2024.
Oh, okay. Right. All right. Well, thank you for
Yes,
thank
sir.
you for coming.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.